Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of the Combat Ready Frontline podcast. My name is Lewis Zezeran, and I'm doing this series of English podcasts to get to know my colleagues at Combat Ready. I want to learn a bit about their military experience, and I want to take a few lessons away, and I want to share that with you in this kind of shorter format. Today I've got Robert Käsper here. Robert is head of FTX. These are our field training days. We take you out with laser tag weapons. And we say that these days are where you learn something about your team. You learn about each other. And they put you through simulated combat operations. They're safe. You're not in danger. You don't have to run around. It's not CrossFit. You're not jumping out of trees. But you have to shoot, move, think, communicate with your team. You're in a stressful circumstance. And we think that they're very good trainings. So we talk with Robert a little bit at FTX. Then we talk a little bit about his time as a conscript. And I was very interested in, why do they yell at conscripts? Why we have this stereotype about soldiers in the boot camp getting yelled at, you do that now, maggot, and this sort of stuff. Why? We wouldn't yell at anyone else, kind of anywhere else. So I wanted to look at why that is effective in a military context, even though I can't really imagine where I would ever yell at anyone in a business context. Lastly, I dig into the idea of what do we do when we have a decision to make? So I'm talking to Robert about SOP, standard operating procedures. And when they're on patrol in a combat situation and they come under fire from the enemy, you need to act like right now. And what do they do? What are the standard procedures they have? That they need to react in this moment, and when does the leader step in and make a decision, and what's that barrier between the leader making the decision and what's micromanagement? We don't want to make too many small, because that's micromanagement, but the leader still needs to provide their knowledge. Ideally, the leader is looking up and out, looking over the entire battlefield. There's guys with guns shooting, but they're looking down the barrel, so they're not looking around. So the reason I'm doing is we've got this military example, which I think is very clear. And then when you're listening to that, I want you to think about, how would this apply to my business life? Because I think the example does. If you can make that leap yourself, I think this is where you can really learn a lot. That if I just told you a business example about how the CEO did this, it never hits home. Take this military example about how they react under pressure, what process and steps they do, and then think, how does that apply to me in my workplace? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go on. This is Robert Käsper. Let's go. So, Robert, this is your first podcast.
That's my first podcast, yeah.
We're in the podcast bunker. This is the low rent. This is the cheapest studio you can get.
Nice. Yeah, you got to start from somewhere, I guess.
Sure, we're showing the show business here. So, Robert is our head of FTX. Yeah. That's what you look after. So, what is an FTX and what are you looking after?
The FTX is a field training exercise, and basically what we do during the FTX is we take people from their ordinary lives and put them in combat situations, so to speak. So we take them out of their everyday environment and put them in a situation where they have to tolerate stress, make decisions, have not enough time, and so on. So we want to see how they act, how they make decisions, how they work as a team, and then, of course, bring out the stuff that they can learn from, the important stuff.
Okay. So they're out there, they're doing something practical. There's a point to what they're doing, and somehow they're put under stress.
Yeah.
How are they put under stress?
First thing always is the absence of information. They don't know what to expect. Okay. And of course, the scenarios that we built up are always, even if they start thinking that what might happen or assuming, then we have our methods to counter that too. And the other thing is we give them weapons, like laser tag weapons. They don't harm anyone, but they have their headbands and stuff. So they have to first take care of a thing called a weapon. It's just a tool for us, like for soldiers, but if they're not used to it, then it's another source of stress for them. Okay. And then as soon as they start understanding that the role players or the enemy that they're fighting against will shoot them, they get injured and so on, injured, so to speak. So there's a bunch of things they have to think about, and this will give them more stress. And then it works perfectly.
Okay. So there's laser tag weapons. That's an important part. And you treat them I don't want to say like a drill instructor, but you're giving them missions, you're commanders for them, and you're telling them what they need to do.
Yeah, so the way it's built up is we give them like operational orders, reports basically, giving them an assignment, what they have to do, and they have to plan for it. We don't help them. And yeah, we're basically like a drill instructor, but we can't do it the way that we did it in the army because they're still civilians, and that wouldn't work that well. So we have to find a good balance between how we do it. So the way I do it is I always I just do it in a strict manner. You know, I don't want to bullshit around, so I just give them the order and ask, do you have any questions, and then ask them to read back what they have to do, and then just go start planning, and then I just take off, and I won't help them. Because the only help that I will provide them is I give them an opportunity to ask questions in the beginning. But since that part is over, then I just go, and then they're all on their own. And like always, they have extra questions, and then I just, basically stay behind the corner and like, nope, I'm not here anymore.
So when they're moving around the field, you're moving around with them, but you don't answer their questions. You won't.
No, we don't. Sometimes if we see that the commanders that we point, or if they get stuck, then we will start not telling them what they have to do, but start asking questions. Okay. What's going on? So what's happening? What's your purpose? What's the mission? Okay, where your guys are at the moment? What are they doing? What should be the next steps? What do you think? So on. So we just basically help them by asking questions.
That sounds a good way to go, because how do we help our subordinates? We actually ask them questions so they can come to the answer themselves rather than being told.
Yeah, make them think.
Okay.
That's the whole point, to make people think about how you get over the problem that you have. Because it's easy. It's so easy nowadays that you just ask a question and someone tells you what to do, but will it help you? Probably not.
Sure, that level of thinking, what is AI take? We were talking a bit about this earlier. What does that take away from us? Things are very good that ChatGPT can cram out a bunch of stuff, but there was value in the thinking process. There was value in us getting to that same answer now. Sometimes that can take too long. We need to speed that up. So, okay, there's nothing to help them out there. You're there. But then people might say, well, sometimes, I mean, why? If I'm in a business situation, I can just call my boss. I can just call my leader. Like, I'm not out of communications with them necessarily.
Yeah, but as a team member, you should think that your boss probably has something more important to do than to deal with your, like, basically micromanaging you. Of course, there are situations where you don't have, you can't make decisions on your own because, whatever the value is monetary or whatever.
Sure.
But if this is something that falls under your work of or line of work, then you should do the decisions, at least at the extent that you've been given.
Okay, sure. So you've been given a mission, you've been given the intent, you've been given what the end state looks like. So if your thing still exists, if your problem exists within those boundaries, that's a good hint that maybe you don't need to escalate this.
Yeah. And from my experience, if you have a problem and you're really stuck with it, then of course go and ask senior people. But don't just go and ask, what should I do? Rather just come up with options or solutions and then say that, okay, this is my problem. I have these solutions. What do you think? Or let's discuss what would work the best.
Okay, so what do? I don't know what to do. But instead saying, hey, boss, I'm really stuck. I can see 3 general things that we possibly might. Can you help me figure out which one of these things might be the right one to do with your perspective?
Yeah, for example, because they're usually the leaders are appointed because they have experience. At least this is how it should work. So yeah, but like in our everyday lives, we should control ourselves because we are leading our lives independently and leading, I don't know, your family, whatever. So come up with, like, start thinking, come up with your own solutions.
Okay, so we'll do this. So would you say, to change tracks a little bit now, when Robert was younger, was he able to make these independent decisions? How did he start out?
No, definitely not. It's been a long journey It's been a very long journey, and this is something that the army taught me, or the special forces actually. Before that, no, I don't think so. I think I needed assistance a lot.
As a young guy,
Yeah.
When at what age did you think you would join the military?
I joined the military when I was 18, I think.
Was that the mandatory service?
Yeah, the conscription service.
So you did that. Did you have some idea that you might want to do this before the mandatory service?
Yeah. It started when I was just like, I don't know, 10, 12, something like that. We have the Noorkotkas, basically like scouts or whatever, Boy Scouts. So
I was a member of the Boy Scouts, and they were actually called Boy Scouts. So
yeah. And me and some of my friends, we already started with that, and then we joined the Defense League later. So I think I was like 13, maybe 15 when I knew that I want to join the army.
Okay, already.
Yeah. So yeah, it came pretty early for me.
So you're looking forward to doing the mandatory service. This is coming up. How did that, I mean, did the mandatory service change your idea, or because you'd already done so much youth work that you understood what you were getting yourself in for?
Yeah, I mean, Defense League it's for volunteers, so it's not that strict, and it's different. It's a different kind of animal, not in a bad way. And when the conscription service started, then I mean, that was different.
Okay.
Because you weren't used to the fact that they would just lock you up for 3 months for basic service, basic training. And you just had to stay there for 3 months. They wouldn't let you go home, anything. You just had to be in that environment like 24/7. And that was, I don't know, I'd say even shocking a bit.
That 3 months, first 3 months.
Yeah.
I was talking with Preet about this last week that they changed that now, and part of that might be that because they don't have to pay to board you for all that time and pay for your meals for all those extra days.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to be away for that 3 months, you couldn't get out. There was no going to the pub. You were just on base.
Yep.
Why is that shocking in a pre-iPhone era as well?
I guess that you're just used to the freedom, that you have the ability of deciding, I want to go to this place, that place, hang out with your friends, I don't know, play a video game or do whatever you want. But you just couldn't do it there. You had a strict schedule. You woke up at that time, you had training till that time, lunch at that time, go to bed at that time, and that's it.
Okay.
And you had, Sundays were off.
All right.
But you still had to stay on base. So your family was able to come and, meet you.
Oh, dang, like a jail cell. Gee,
I mean,
visitations, all right.
Yeah, but that all changed after basic training. Then you had the possibility, if you were doing everything correctly and acting right and, being motivated and stuff like that, then they let you out for the weekends.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you fucked something up, well, you stayed there.
So that's some level of enforced discipline there. And this actually comes back to what you spoke about in the FTX. And you said, well, this is not a boot camp, right? And the point there is, well, the boot camp is there to indoctrinate you, to break you down, to get you into that system. That wouldn't be the point of an FTX, to come along and yell at people and tell, why aren't you standing up straight? That's a totally different thing that's trying to be taught here.
Yeah, the same. You have to find the balance between being an ex-army guy, being used to actually being able to do that, yelling at people and saying things out in a manner that you wouldn't do in the civilian life.
Sure.
And if we would use the same technique with people that come to our courses, then it just wouldn't work. Because we want to create an environment where they feel safe to fail.
Sure.
And the feedback that we give them is more like supportive rather than a negative feedback. So.
Right. Okay, so we think that we're doing the right things by our students when they come to FTX, being supportive, to encourage their learning. That then brings me to the question, why is it different in the military? Why is there yelling and shouting and saying negative things about people?
I would say that the first and the main thing is that people have to do it. It's mandatory. They don't have the option to choose whether they want to do it or not.
Do you mean in regular military at all, or just in your 3 months, or what?
No. I mean, like if like the conscript service.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So it's you're obliged by the law.
Okay, you have to do it. Right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd say that this is the first thing, because not so many people want to do it. Or I can't say not so many people. I don't have the statistics how many do and don't. But what I hear from the general public anyway is that people are not that motivated anymore to go there, because you just have to go there, and it's not just for a few weeks or months, but you have to stay there 8 to 11 months, which is a long period of time.
Right, I've always been very interested in that. As an Australian, we don't have any form of this mandatory service at all. We're quite detached from our military because we're quite safe in Australia. So we don't have that part of our culture. It's not there. We don't have some big bear at the door who could come over the border at any moment and want to drink tea with us. So it's not a thing. But and when I was young, I was 18, I was fired up and thinking to myself, I'm not going to imagine letting the government take 8 months of your life. I'm 18, 1 week feels like a lifetime. And then to think that for a better part of a year, the government claims that, and I can't get after it. I can't go get a job. I can't build my career. This also speaks to Australia, crazy career culture in Australia too. But that it's sort of accepted here. It's sort of part of it.
Yeah, it basically just has to be accepted. The fact that young guys have to go serve in the army, and coming back to the why is first is that you have to do it. You are obliged to do it.
Okay.
And I think that the second reason is discipline. The people, or like the young guys, are not that disciplined anymore. And this is what I can see.
Old man yells at cloud anymore. That's the bit I liked about it. The young are not disciplined anymore.
Yeah,
that's the old man part of that sentence.
Yeah.
To say the young are not disciplined is a correct statement.
It was the same when I went there. You could see, like just weren't. Maybe it depends. Like me myself, I think I was a bit more.
Okay, sure.
But in general, it was the same. People were not that disciplined. The guys who I went in with. Right. And the third thing is that it's just the way that armies work. You have to use your voice. You have to be used to the stress that you get on the battlefield, because it's not a place where you just go walk through a park, and you have to be able to be in stressful situations and still operate. So all the yelling and the strict and the discipline and so on, this just prepares you for it.
Okay. Because I was sort of coming to this idea, well, why is it the best way to teach? If being a bit, not trying to say take it easy on them, certainly not, but to be more encouraging, to support. But all right, it's different. There's something about the culture of militaries. That's just how they are. To be tough. All right, so that we're going to have to, and you have to do tough stuff in your workplace too, but it's not quite the life and death that you might face if you're alone on the battlefield having to...
The consequences might be a bit different in our civilian lives. If we fail on the battlefield, we probably lose a bunch of good guys. If we fail here in the civilian environment, then the consequences might not be that bad. Of course, there are places where it might get really bad, but on the battlefield, if you're not disciplined, don't do what you're asked for, then stuff will go down.
Right, and I guess it's not the reason I'm digging into this. It's not the discipline that I disagree with. Certainly not. That is what we need. But it's the method to get to the discipline, which is this, we're yelling, maybe putting down, this sort of thing. Yeah, look, maybe it has to be. Again, I'm not sort of proposing another hippie way.
I think I see what you mean by that. And I, today, with the small experience that I have, I can say that it's not important, the yelling and the stuff. And I don't think that it's happening all the time. Right. Maybe sometimes you just, have to motivate the soldiers a bit. But you can get along with just being a normal person. It doesn't add anything if you yell at teaching something. Sure. It just doesn't.
As I've understood, that's also my observation has been that this more intense style, let's say, of training tends to happen more when you're younger and less so. So your exact example, the first 3 months. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We need to lock you up. We're going to need to rough you up. We need to get you into shape. And then we can back off. And this might be a little bit of how we teach with Combat Ready about when you have someone who really needs help. The term micromanaging, you might need to micromanage them for a little while.
Sometimes,
you might need to be on them, be like, hey man, I'm going to guide you. You might think of, hopefully you think of that as mentoring, that I'm there working with you, helping you every day. To me, the difference is the conscious thought and step back. Yes, good. A little bit more, step back, a little bit more. That's what differentiates micromanagers or just helping from micromanaging.
I mean, as you said, mentoring. This is not micromanaging because you are basically teaching someone how to do stuff, but not doing it for them. But if you start micromanaging, then basically you just do stuff for them. You just point out exactly what you want them to do. But will that make someone think? Hardly. I don't think so. I don't believe in this.
Right, and just like with the early troops, you guys have a very strict schedule, super strict, let's say extra strict more than anything in those before it was in those first 3 months. Just as if I had an employee who, I don't know, wasn't performing well or was really struggling, I might be more like, hey man, we got to be here at 9 a.m. today to do this today. I'm going to be in with you. We're going to be here at 9 a.m. Let's do this. And then part of that stepping back over time might be, okay, you're going in the office. You can work it out a little later on. So I do understand that need for that extra work straight away.
Yeah, the same on the battlefield. Timing is everything. If you're late to somewhere, then the battle might be over by that time.
Sure.
So, you just can't fulfill your mission. And I really do like the concept of strict time schedules during the conscript service because it will teach young guys actually how to respect other people's time too. Because I see that this is a big problem in our society at the moment.
Okay.
People have stopped giving shit about other people, including their time.
Okay. So you mean coming late or not turning up or stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We have that same concept in comedy, actually. I've said many times on this podcast and other places that when new people come to an open mic, I only have 2 rules for them. First one is stick to your time. You got 5 minutes, stick to that. Second one is try again. That's it. Don't care how bad you are. Don't care unless it's like really horrible shit, right? Like, I don't care if it's just you've tried to make jokes and they're bad and no one's laughing. That does not bother me in the slightest. Just keep going. I know no one's good. It's actually weird if you're good the first time. So keep going. But respect time to me is a fundamental. You've got 5 minutes. First of all, it's a really packed show. So if you go over, everyone goes over, the show goes over. You're disrespecting other comedians. You're disrespecting the audience. All of a sudden, the show is 2.5 hours and they had planned to go home or they have to now leave or whatever. So the second thing is when I hit someone with the 5 minutes, I can gauge their pushback. They might not be rude to me, but they're like, hey man, but I've got 7 minutes. One guy right now has got 7 minutes. And I'm like, is every minute of that a laugh? Is every line a laugh? Then you can edit. Then you can get it down. And I could see him, he did it again to the host last night. He was like, I'm going to do 7. And the host went, fair enough. And so respect, he said he was going to do it. He didn't just go and do it. I'm letting him take this journey that you need to pull it down, that it's good for you as an artist to learn to get it into 5, that you don't just have that. So you don't let your time expand. So there's a point to respect others, but then this learning to get things into blocks is important as well.
And what would be the best way to learn than just understanding and this doesn't work. Perfect. And another thing, making mistakes basically.
Okay.
That's something that we should encourage actually. Okay, not like these have to be basically managed risks, or you have to fully understand that you don't want to fail. But if something happens and you fail, then this is good because if you learn from it, then you'll be so much better next time. Yeah. So when I was working for the Estonian Center for Defense Investments, then one of my team members, she was really humble and, apologized for if something happened. And I was like, don't apologize. basically nothing happened. We can do it again.
Sure.
Just it's a very good place to learn from. And I'd say that making mistakes is good. Of course, you just can't, say out that, fuck everything up.
Right.
Do whatever you want. But like making mistakes during the process, right on.
Sure. That's how the young people learn. I got a good one this week from that we've got a young guy who is in Viljandi and he wants to make an open mic in Viljandi. Cool. I'm going to work with him. We're going to make this happen. But I'm also keeping in mind that I don't want to run it all. I want him to take that responsibility. This is very good. I want to develop him. And I said, okay, man, we're going to do the open mic. And how much are we going to charge? I said, I think we should have €5. I don't think it's a big thing to Viljandi people. And that protects our income. So we've all got just to make sure we've got petrol money. And he was like, I don't know. I really want to make it free with a donation because here's the vibe I'm going for. I want to develop this culture in Viljandi. And I thought back and forth and I said, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll do it your way the first time. No problems. The venue is going to give us the petrol money. And so we put it on sale. It says it's free. Now the venue comes back and says, oh yeah, they're only giving us $50, which is like one car's worth of petrol. But I'm not going to change it. We went with your plan, bro, and I understood that. I think we should do that. I think he already sees. Like, I don't need to point it out to him that his idea, but I let him do his plan. I said, don't worry, we'll ask for donations. We'll get the rest of the money. And then next time we'll do my way or do what, he will come around to that way that maybe we should just take a ticket. So, but I looked at the room for him to fail and I'm like, okay, what happens if the young guy screws it up? What do we lose? $50, $100? Fine. Does that mean he learned a great lesson? Like, I don't want to keep losing $100. Certainly not.
Every time, yeah.
But what does it matter if we don't get this one decision right? Good. Your decision. Go for it.
Yeah, it's, allowing people to fail, but there has to be actions after failing, which are corrective actions.
Okay.
So that it wouldn't happen the next time. As you said, you don't want to you don't want to start losing $100 like each time. So if that would happen, then actually he or the guy hadn't learned anything. But this is where we want to get that he has the experience that, okay, last time we did it this way, it didn't work out for us, so we have to change something and we have to do it in another way.
Right.
So
would he really know if I had just said, dude, just trust me, take a ticket, just do what I'm saying, just trust me, it'll be okay, which it probably would have, but he wouldn't really have gotten that lesson there.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't. And I'd say that it's a good way. And maybe next time if someone has the same idea, you can just start asking questions. And, if the guy says that, the venue's going to give us the petrol money, just that's okay. But do you know how much will they give you?
Right. And as a leader, I didn't ask that question.
Yeah, exactly.
I went, we'll get it. Because we had a previous venue where the guy didn't care and he just gave us all the money. Now, the Viljandi venue says we're only going to $50, I don't mean to make them sound cheap. When I think about it, yes, some small little friggin' bar in Viljandi only has €50 to give us. I understand that. I'm not trying to screw them out of nothing. So it's on me because actually that sounds pretty reasonable, the outcome.
Yeah. Just, ask questions again as leader. Make them think. And if they don't have all the facts that they rely on with their plan, for example, the petrol money from the venue, I guess the guy didn't know what the sum's going to be.
Sure, now he knows, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they just ask questions during the process. And if he says, oh, yeah, that's a good point, I don't know, actually. And people, especially young people, like now, maybe they don't want to go and ask stuff about money. Because it's uncomfortable sometimes to ask questions, how much will you give us? But if you want to get down to show business, I guess, then this is something you really have to sort out.
Yeah, a little bit like that. So what did you take? Let's go back to your conscription. What did you take away from that? You said it was hard, it was tough, it had to break you and remold you a little bit.
Yeah, it did. It made me a more disciplined person. And actually, when the conscript service was over after 11 months, I wasn't sure that I want to continue. Yeah, I had this period for a few months after the service ended that what do I want to do next? But I got over it. Okay. Yeah, I still joined. I went back to the army. But it was, I think I just needed to, take a break.
Okay.
Because the 11 month was intense. Yes, of course, the closer to the end it got, It wasn't that hard, but still, I guess, just needed a break. Because conscript service is just, it's also a different kind of animal than the service after the conscript, because this is where the instructors from the army take young guys from their civilian lives and try to mold them into the reserve army that we need. And so it's more intense, and it sometimes just doesn't make sense. There's one sentence they say that if you've served in the defense forces, then you'll never laugh at the circus. Because you've probably seen it all.
Sure.
Yeah. And I had this point where I wasn't sure if I want to continue or not, but I decided that I do want to continue.
That was similar to what Preet said as well. He had some time off as well. He did some job, I forget what it was, and then eventually come back. Like, I don't know, now I've got a sample size of 2, but this idea that you take some time to process this and to understand the lessons that you've learned or what you want to do, or maybe the civilian life. You've been slogging so long, you're like, just go get a job. And then you realize, okay, no, there was actually something there when you could take a step back and detach from that.
Yeah, it took me around, I think it was 3 months. Yeah, something like that. And then I decided that, okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's go back.
So then you went in the regular military, but you eventually ended up in special forces. So how long did that process take to go from regular soldier into?
When I went back to the army to like work in the army after the conscript service, I think it took about 5 years to actually get there. So I returned to the army. I was an instructor. So I was a medic, so I had to start teaching conscripts to become medics.
You're immediately on the other side of that dynamic.
Yeah, and then at one point I decided to actually go to Afghanistan before I joined the special forces, because the job that I was doing, of course, it's a noble job, to instruct and give out your knowledge and stuff like that, but it wasn't enough for me.
Okay, you came to see some action, right? You came to get in it and get after it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And I wanted to get that experience. Yeah. Because if you, regardless of what you teach, if you don't have the experience behind it, then is it really,
Sure,
very
absolutely.
Good? Yeah. So I decided that I need that experience, and I just basically applied to go there, and finally they allowed me. So 2011, I went to Afghanistan in May and returned like the beginning of December or something like that.
Were you there as a medic as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was, yeah.
Where did this medic thing come from? I didn't even know this in you. Did you have some previous training, or where did this come out of?
So if you, like during the conscript service, they let you choose your MOS. So basically like what you will become. And I had 2 options, either a platoon commander, which now I think I should have gone that way, like definitely, or become a medic. But the idea behind of becoming a medic was that if I decide not to join the army after the service, the conscript service, then this is great knowledge that I can take with me for like an everyday life. It's just a very good skill. And that was the idea behind it. So yeah, that's why I made the decision that, okay, I'll just go through medical training.
Sure. I wonder if that speaks as well to a young person who doesn't, I wouldn't have understood this earlier either, but you wanted a tangible skill that you could use in the real world. Well, being a platoon commander would be a tangible skill of leadership, but I get it. At 18, I wouldn't have known that. I would be like, oh, okay, I'm going to be a mechanic, because that's a skill I could use in the real world. Not like, oh, I've led a huge group of men. That's a tangible skill. I didn't get that either.
Yeah, the platoon commander we had, when the conscript service ended, he was like, I should not have sent you to become a medic, because he knew it.
Right.
He asked me the question like many times, are you sure that you want to go? Because I would like to go to that training. And I was like, yes, I'm sure. But like, unfortunately, we don't have that respawn.
Okay.
So I can't do it anymore. But yeah, I think I should have chosen the other option. But regardless of that, I've had a lot of good training during my whole career. So like medical wise and leadership wise. So all in all, it came out.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't sound like you've missed out in the end. And so you're still in Afghanistan as a medic for the first time.
Yeah.
Okay. How is the job of the medic different to, I don't know, the regular soldier? The scouts, the scouts battalion, is that the thing? I don't know enough.
Yeah, that's one of the battalions that we have there.
Yeah.
It's not different. Like with every job that you have or a specialty, you're still a soldier. Like soldier first, and then whatever comes after, then you have to start, acting as a medic or whoever. So, but yeah, you're always soldier first.
Okay, so you're doing the regular stuff. You are a soldier. There's no difference there. You're out on patrol.
Yeah, just carry doing more stuff on your back because you need all the medical equipment and.
And if there is some sort of contact and some sort of injury, then you have to respond. What?
Not necessarily, because all these soldiers go through basic medical training, basic life support. So they have to be able to actually take care of the casualties first, because the medic's not always there. So you just basically take over, but they have to be able to save the lives of their associates. Yeah.
Let's say you're on patrol, there's a contact. So let's say you're around, you're there to respond. There's a contact and somebody gets injured. What's the SOP, the standard operating procedure, for how the team responds? Because I imagine you need to get in there and start looking at the injured person, but you need cover from your teammates as well. So what's the standard?
So the standard is first, if you get into contact, shoot back.
Sure.
Shoot back as much as you can. You have to have suppressive fire, suppress the enemy. And then the first thing is to get the casualty away from the point of injury. And this also necessarily doesn't have to be the medic who does that.
So get them to a safe place.
Yeah. Okay. The easiest is if a guy is injured, then you just yell at him that, can you come to me? Maybe he can just crawl. Or someone else has to take him away from the X. But in the place of contact, you're basically in the kill zone because someone's injured. You just have to get out there as fast as you can. And then, this is all teamwork. Someone's covering, someone's, carrying, and so on and so on. And you have to get the casualty to a safe place. And then you can start dealing with these injuries. And, it's the basic stuff. You go over hemorrhage, breathing, airways, stuff like that.
So this is the basic cover and moves that you guys are practicing is something's happened. Maybe it's a downs. I've got to run out. I've got to go into a kill zone, as you say. And you've just been drilling this over and over. That, okay, you guys lay down. How automatic is that? Does someone have to yell like, I'm laying down the fire, so I'm going to run, you cover me? Is it that or?
Yeah, this is why squads have squad leaders.
Okay.
It's their job to actually go through the process, to actually give commands. Who's covering, who's doing what, because he has to see the big picture. He probably knows or should know where the enemy is at, shooting where, how can we suppress the enemy to get the casualty out. So, but it's the first law of combat that we teach here, right? Teamwork.
Teamwork, cover and move, that exact thing.
And at this moment, if you go through the values that you have and you value the lives of your comrades, then this is how it starts working. You as a team work to get the guy off the X and to save his life.
Okay, so there's a squad leader, and they're detached, but not completely detached. Like they know their job is to know the bigger picture of the battlefield, as I understand from what you just said, where maybe a soldier with a gun is, okay, their job right now is to look down the barrel of the gun a little bit and fire in that direction. Yeah,
as a, in a kinetic contact situation, you really can't be 100% detached from the situation, because you might actually be, as a commander, the first guy who sees the enemy, and you have to start suppressing him. Of course, you can then point where the enemy is at, so the other guys can also start covering, and then you can basically take a step back and start seeing what the situation is.
Okay.
So it's a bit different in the battlefield because you never know where the enemy is, what he's doing, and if you are actually as a leader the first guy to respond, then you just have to do it. But the important thing is to detach yourself from it. You can't just stay there and shoot at the enemy and not know what your squad is doing. You have like 10, 12 guys doing something, but as a team, you would be 100% more effective than just one guy doing.
Sure. So the boss starts laying. Okay, I just happen to be the boss, and I see the thing. I start laying down fire, but my job very quickly is to be like, no, you take over. Okay, I have to do it right now in that moment. The boss has to do it because that's the most important, most relevant person. But as soon as is reasonable, I got to get someone else to take that job. You look down these sights right now at that guy. I'm gonna take a step back.
Yeah,
and
so
start directing the scene.
That's also an SOP. If you get into contact, then of course you lay down suppressive fire, but then whoever sees the enemy has to state or point where the enemy is at, so everyone else would know it too. And this is very important, so that you wouldn't just shoot somewhere, but to the point where the enemy actually is.
Okay, so you need to give your information out. I've got that. And you have to, is it enough to just wherever I'm shooting at, or the person should actually be directing a bit more?
There's many ways to actually direct fire. There's many ways to do it. You can use, tracer rounds, some objects that are there, and, you can...
Oh, okay. Coming from that doorway.
Yeah, something like that. There's many ways to do it. It's just important to note that what you see, what direction is it, and how far is it? So that will help. If you have a guy with a PKM, or a huge machine gun, then I'm pretty sure that everyone would like to know that there is a huge machine gun shooting at us. So
some information about the target as well, not just it's there, but the guy's got an RPG or he's got a hand pistol or whatever that might be.
A tank.
Or a tank, yes. Okay, this could be relevant. Although, why haven't we seen the tank yet? But okay, yeah. Only I can see the massive bit of metal moving down the street. All right.
Yeah. And so this directing fire gives the opportunity to the squad leader to basically detach himself from the situation and start working on a plan what to do. Who is covering, who is recovering, whatever.
Okay, so as soon as possible, as soon as is reasonable, the leader steps back, detaches, and tries to make a call in that situation about what we should be doing at that time. Right. I think what I'm also trying to get to here is that there is still someone coordinating it. And that doesn't mean they're doing all the jobs, but someone is making those calls. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. Or to some level, or some people, you need to do this, you need to do this. But then there's some level that people are just doing things as well, that they're taking initiative or as with
as a professional soldier, you are a very good soldier and your basic skills are very good. But at least they should be good. So, fire, cover and move, stuff like that. Shooting, pointing out the direction of the enemy, rendering first aid. These are all basic skills for soldiers. So, and this comes to actually taking initiative, because your squad commander doesn't have to tell you that start shooting at the enemy. Okay. If one shoots at you, then shoot back. It's it's so basic that you have to do it. No one's actually telling you to do stuff.
And this leading on the battlefield isn't about micromanaging it. It's more, I want to say directing might be a more apt solution. So even on the battlefield, there can still be a high level command. Hey, I need you to go take that hut right now. I'm not going to tell you how to get in there. I'm not going to, I just know you need to go and do it. You do whatever you need to do to implement that. So
the squad is basically the standard is that you basically have a squad leader and then you have another guy who's actually leading the other half of the squad. So as a squad leader, you might have 5-6 guys with you, or the whole squad. But if the situation demands, then you can divide your squad into whatever groups necessary, and you can just point out one guy, said exactly as you said. Okay, we need to take that building there, go do it, and that's it. They choose the method how to do it. Not you micromanage that, approach from this angle, and I don't know, kick in the door with your left foot and stuff like that. You don't do that. You don't even have the time to do it. Like if you are in a bad situation, then no, you don't have the time to do it.
Right. Yeah, I guess where I'm trying to get us through with this is how much information to give and how much direction to give in a circumstance that there's still direction being provided, which is, hey, I've seen a bigger picture. Here's some information. I can see these bad guys. Seems like we need to go take that house right now. You need to go, well, I don't know. We need to take if that's the battlefield, it does seem like taking that house is a good idea. So go take that house, and then everything else is up. Like,
the information has to be like clear and enough for the guys to fulfill the assignment.
Okay.
You can basically, I don't know, it's a basic drill. If you're, let's say, patrolling in the woods and you get a contact front. So all the guys will get in line, start shooting. The squad commander moves back a bit, asks for his assistant to come to him, and then he'll just basically say, okay, we have an enemy that direction, 200 meters, there's a machine gun. I will stay here, lay down covering fire, you will go and make a maneuver from the left. That's it.
So who was making that decision?
The squad leader.
Squad leader,
yeah.
Okay.
Or if the squad leader is still alive, whoever is in charge.
Of course, okay.
Yeah, so whoever is
right,
in charge.
about what we've, so our SOP gets us through the moment. It is the thing that allows us to react when we don't have time to think. There's a contact coming in. Okay, I've got to just move. We don't have time to tell everyone. But then when we get just a moment settled, when we have 10 more seconds to think about this, then the leader can come up with some direction for us to go. Okay.
Yeah. It can be that. It can be that they don't even. So, if you divide the squad, you can be like one half is Alpha, the other one is Bravo. And the command might just be that Bravo is laying down covering fire, Alpha is attacking or flanking from the right, whatever. That's it. And the guys have to stop moving. And this is also SOP, how they move out and all the tactical drills. It's basic SOP.
Right. So, so you literal cover move in this situation here. One fire, one down. The commander just has to say, this is the maneuver we're pulling. This is the play we're pulling, as the Americans might say in Gridiron. And you already know the playbook. You already know what you need to do in those circumstances.
But yeah, when the shit starts actually going down, the maneuver itself, then you have to adapt to the situation. Because it's not always what it seems. Maybe it's not just one machine gun, or maybe it's a squad of an enemy. And if there is like 10 dudes shooting at you, then no way you're gonna pull a maneuver like that. You just maybe have to return to the original position. I don't know. Let the commander know that no, there's too many people there or too many enemy. We can't do it, and then it's another decision. Okay, let's pull back. Whatever. So it's SOPs that help us to achieve something. But you still have to be able to think on your own and be flexible in the situations, because there's always so much information that you don't have in battle situations, and you need to maybe halfway doing something decide that nope, we can't do it the way that we were expecting, and just have to come up with something else.
Okay, we've got new information. Now we've tried a little bit of this. Okay, we tried, and actually there's a whole bunch of fire. We couldn't make any progress. We were totally pinned down. This cover and move situation won't work. So you've got to feed that information back to your commander, and then the commander needs to make the next call.
And now the yelling comes in that we previously talked about. Because in the battlefield, if you're getting shot at, you're shooting back, I don't know, maybe there's grenades flying, whatever going on. Then you have to start using your voice.
Okay.
Because not everyone has a radio, maybe, or usually all the infantry doesn't. So this is the place where you have to start using your voice. So yelling, comes or has its perks, and you have to use a lot of voice. I mean, yelling over gunfire, it's something else to get the information moving.
I see what you mean. I think then, I would refine my definition of instruction in the boot camp. It's yelling, but yelling and saying negative things to maybe get your point across. Where you're saying, yes, the skill of yelling very loudly, of communicating, that's the skill. It doesn't have to be, okay, you move left, you absolute shitcock, or just move left. Okay, I've got to yell really loudly, right? I don't have to be insulting to them in that moment.
No.
But that's sort of that difference again. Okay, we learn to yell and a little bit of breaking them down in boot camp, where later on, okay, it's a team. We don't necessarily are going to yell at one another.
That like insulting someone while instructing will probably have very reverse effects.
Right. And I think everyone's just seen because that's the one interesting part of the movies, right? This boot camp guy, and it just creates to a nice plot that eventually they all get somewhere later.
Yeah, but Afghanistan in general, I was a medic there, and as we said, you're still a soldier first, and then whatever your specialities comes after.
Robert, I could keep on going all day with this, but I'm going to leave it this. We just wanted one thought. That's why I dug into what is a combat situation like when we get contact. What are our SOPs that we're acting immediately to? Then what is the next decision? Because I think that if people just think back to the last 20 minutes that they've just heard about what a contact situation is like, I think there's a lot. We can apply this to our business life as well, and personal life. But let's say our business life, there is stuff that we have to react to each day. Maybe the boss has to deal with that in this moment, but as soon as possible, they need to get that higher view. For people to think about these analogies that they really do apply to real life, to real business.
And this is also one of the things that we talk about during our courses is, you have a lot of stress and, not enough information, blah, 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 whatever else on the battlefield. And then we ask them, okay, but what's the difference with your everyday life? And then usually they say that, well, nothing, it's exactly the same. But, the only thing is that you might have very bad consequences. Of course, this is what they say, that maybe that doesn't apply to us. Maybe, I don't know. In some ways it does. But actually, the stuff that is on the battlefield is pretty much the same as it is here. Maybe it's just not that intense.
All right. I suspect time is a little bit different when you get contact from an enemy. Now, this second, I need to bring a reaction. And there's rare things in a business that require reaction in this second or this 5 seconds. So it's the principle still works,
maybe
right?
If you're a stockbroker or something.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. If you're out on the floor and you've got to react right now, but usually this takes some time.
No, you have time usually in the civilian life.
We have a little bit more time. You've got 10 minutes. Usually nothing happens within 10 minutes, right? You can make that decision. And the reason that I'm getting to this example as well, we hear all the time in our courses, it's balance between military examples and business examples. And we never know quite what to do. Yes, there should be some business examples, but to me, the point of all of this is to hear the principle from military example. And then I use my thinking brain to apply that to business. My whole point is that I don't think the business examples are very clear day to day. That's why we're looking to this. So people, I want more business examples. No, it's your job to then apply that to your business. Even though, yes, we should be giving them some business examples.
Yeah. It's the people that go through our courses that basically divided into two. Half of them say that we want more military context, and the other half says that there should be more business context. Yeah. So it's again finding balance. But we still try to also give examples of our own experience with the military examples. But one more thing I wanted to add about you as a thinking person.
Okay, yeah.
That's very nice of you that you were able to think. But maybe not so many people actually can take what we teach, like take the military example and then put it into the right context for them. This is something that might happen, and this is why we've decided that we should also bring an example from the civilian life.
It should do too. And I don't mean to say that we should never do that stuff. And maybe my job is to detach a little bit, take a step back. Because to me, it was those military examples that made it all clear. And I'm allergic to business examples. I'm allergic to this business talk. So
because you have your own experience, and then you're experienced in this. And this is why you wanted like a different perspective.
Sure, I needed that different perspective. So some people, though, that's their world and they're okay with that stuff. And I have a problem to connect with that they want it all through the business examples. So I need to detach and understand that not everyone will understand this material in the same lens that I have.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case, yeah.
It is. Robert, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.